They're the sorts of, so to our supporters, yeah, look, I understand, but there is an unknown, but it's an exciting unknown. And, just the names I've mentioned, I'm really confident that we'll be able to kick some good scores.
Can I look a bit more in depth than that? The forward line structure is important, personnel is important, the system's probably as important. I mean, you get it down there often enough in the right place, someone will kick the goals. And last year, I think the stats said you used more disposals than any team to score your goals. And it did revert back to that old bad habit the Crows had several years ago of coming in too wide. And now, what have you done about trying to rectify that, or if you indeed think that's a problem?
Yeah, look, I think a really important area in the forward line is the 0 to 30 area, and we were certainly guilty last year of not going to that position often enough. I mean, once again, your listeners would probably see it more as out in front of goals and top of the goal square, that
Yep.
type of area. And we even in our last game against Hawthorn, Kenny McGregor played in that area and kicked 4 goals. When we had the courage, if you like, to go there. So I think we need to get back some balance, and you've identified that. Having said that, though, still a really important play, which I think we're not good enough at, is the number of uncontested marks into your forward line as well. We had to work too hard for our scores. So we need to look at both of those.
Neil, Kurt Tippett is an interesting name. I saw the young man play beginning of last year at Mount Gambier, and I think that's the only game he played. And gee, I was impressed how tall he was, how quick he was for a big man, how athletic he was. Has he taken during pre-season, and I know it's not game time, but has he progressed through the pre-season thus far as you would like?
Yeah, he has, Ken. We made a strong decision with Kurt last year when he hurt his shoulder to have that reconstructed, purely based on pre-season, so that he could actually get a full pre-season under his belt, which so far he's been able to do. Kurt is he's a 200-centimetre plus player. We recruited him as a key forward. You saw him in the ruck at Mount Gambier,
I did.
And as you said, very impressive. He rucked for West Adelaide and did a good job. We still see him as a key forward. Great competitor. Got a strong basketball background. Need to be patient with him because he's a very immature footballer. And what I mean by that, I think he's only played about 30 games total.
Yep.
In his life. So, but having said that, in some of the mini games that we play in pre-season, he's certainly given a lot of indication that he could force his way into our side.
It's easy to look at your squad, as I admit I have done, and say there's too many key players, there's too many leaders that are now missing. You have to reconstruct the forward line, you've got to reconstruct the ruck, and I think it's going to be a difficult year for you. I can't quite see how you can get into the 8, but I mean, I know you can't think like that. But again, I was given a different perspective of it by somebody I was speaking to who had been speaking to you, so it's third hand, and this is a bit delicate how I express it, but you weren't that disappointed that some players have gone. You're happy with your list. You felt that some of the players who've gone...
Name them.
Well,
Hudson and Welsh.
Well, I was trying to be a bit more diplomatic than that.
Craig, you'd be up front.
That you weren't unhappy to see those players go.
No,
to put it bluntly.
Yes, I think there were some players, Graham, that were asked to retire, and Matthew Bode and Jason Tawney were probably the ones that maybe shocked quite a few of our supporters, and they were both really tough decisions. In the case of Ben and Scott, I was happy for those guys to stay, but under the conditions that basically what the club offered them, and in the end they decided that they didn't want to play under those conditions. And so I don't want players at the football club playing under sufferance. So if their decision is that they can get a better deal somewhere else and that's what they want, fine. And let's go, let's get on with it, and get people at our football club who want to be here for the, not the right reasons, because Ben and Scott were here for the right reasons. They just wanted different contractual arrangements. So I'm not sitting here, wasting time worrying about Ben Hudson and Scott Welsh about them leaving. I wish them all the best, and I'm sure they'll do very well for the Western Bulldogs. I'm more concerned about the players that want to be at our football club and are here, and I have a lot of confidence in them and a lot of belief in them.
let me imply it, the attitude and demeanour and character is most important to you amongst players?
Plus talent.
Oh, talent's important.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of unrequited talent.
Yeah.
Players
No,
who
those characteristics, Graham, that you've mentioned are hugely important to myself. Absolutely.
Can we talk about the captain?
Yep.
Mark Rasciuto's retired. Simon Goodwin seems the obvious replacement. You've mentioned him as a forward coach, but you also mentioned Rutten and Van Berlo, young players. Now, what stance will you take with the captain? Do you appoint the best man for the job, even if it is just for 1 or 2 years?
Yeah, in this case, I mean, first of all, the senior leadership group is very much player-driven, and it's got nothing to do with age. So, I mean, as you've seen in the past, Ben Rutten was in the senior leadership group and exited that group and has now got back in based on his actions in terms of leadership. Nathan Van Berlo is not in there because we need a young player in there or because he's a 21-year-old. Nathan Van Berlo is in there because of the way he goes about his leadership. Simon Goodwin, in the end, and I totally supported this, was the logical person to captain our football club and the best person to captain our football club. And I'm very comfortable and really pleased with Simon having that opportunity to do it in terms of his career. And,
great appointment, actually.
And it's still I think to be able to captain your football club at AFL level, Graham and Ken, is still a privilege. And what I can report to you is that the way Simon's gone about it has been absolutely exceptional with what he's doing and in definition of what I have as leadership.
But was there any doubt about it? Was there any prolonged discussion?
Oh yeah, look, there was prolonged discussion, and because of the situation with Simon, particularly with his gambling, there needed to be some discussion. That would be irresponsible if there wasn't. But in the end, Simon's developed